Imagine you walk into an elevator. It's empty. You're there for 30, maybe 40 seconds. You get off at your floor and you go about your day. What you don't know is that in 2 weeks, you'll be in the hospital. You didn't touch an infected surface, you didn't talk to a single sick person, but someone else who was in the elevator a full 2 hours before you had measles. And because that person simply breathed in the short ride down to the lobby, the viruses were still there, hanging in the air. Let's get out of here. This is the terrifying reality of the world's most contagious virus, measles. If you're unvaccinated and exposed to it, there is a 90% chance you'll catch it too. The only reason most of us don't live in constant fear of measles viruses lurking in empty elevators or classrooms is because most of us are vaccinated, creating a shield of protection around all of us. But lately, that shield has started to crack. So let's travel back through time to see how we came close to silencing measles and what's behind its terrifying comeback. Measles isn't a new disease. It appeared in Persian medical texts dating as far back as the 9th century and became steadily more widespread as global exploration boomed. From remote Pacific islands to the Americas, it would infect whichever regions of the world came into contact with it, with devastating effect. Then fast forward to the early 1960s. Back then, measles wasn't a headline, it was a fact of life. Globally, there were nearly 30 million cases and over 2 million deaths each year. The world lived with it because we had to. Until 1963, when the measles vaccine, developed by American John Franklin Enders and his team, was licensed for public use. The vaccine was stunningly effective at protecting people from getting measles. 2 doses of today's updated version is 97% effective, to be exact. By the year 2000, the US had declared measles eliminated, and dozens more countries would follow over the following years. But here's the catch about elimination status. It's not a trophy you get to keep on your mantle forever, it's a title you have to defend. And right now, some countries are on the verge of losing the match. So if we have a vaccine that is 97% effective, why are we suddenly seeing headlines about explosive outbreaks from Texas to London? Well, it comes down to another very specific and unforgiving number, 95%. You see, in public health, we talk about herd immunity a lot. For polio, for example, if around 80% of people are vaccinated, it's enough to keep mostly everyone, the herd, so to speak, safe. But measles is different. Because it's the most contagious human disease we know, it takes a significantly higher community immunisation rate to protect the herd. And if a community's vaccination rate dips below 95%, the virus finds it easier and easier to find people to infect with each dropped percentage point. And even a few dropped percentage point is huge when we're talking about a disease like measles. But why is the vaccination rate dropping? Well, in some parts of the world, it's a tragic lack of access. Poverty or conflict can keep those who need the measles vaccine from getting it. But in many wealthy nations, the shield I mentioned earlier is cracking because of an infodemic. And now, an increasing number of countries that had eliminated measles are now losing their measles-free status. And that's a real problem because measles isn't just an uncomfortable childhood illness, it can be a killer. Infants too young to be vaccinated, elderly, and the immunocompromised are the most vulnerable. They're the ones who most rely on our collective shield. But the terrifying truth about measles is that even if you get it and recover, the danger still isn't over, because measles plays a long game. First, there's the ticking time bomb, SSPE. It's a rare but almost 100% fatal brain disorder. It doesn't hit you when you have the rash. The virus waits, hiding in your system for usually 6 to 8 years, only to reawaken, triggering a fatal neurological decline, destroying the brain from the inside. There is no cure for SSPE, but we can prevent it by getting vaccinated. Avoid this horror and measles can still cause a raft of other complications. Just 20 years ago, before global vaccine coverage rapidly increased, it was the leading cause of blindness in lower income countries. If you're pregnant, measles puts you at a significantly higher risk of miscarriage and premature labour. And not only that, the virus can give you something called immune amnesia. Think of your immune system kind of like a library. Every time you survive a cold or even get a flu shot, your body writes a book on how to fight that disease. When a new invader enters the body, it checks the library. But measles attacks the very cells that store these memories, effectively burning down this immune library. A single infection can wipe out anywhere from 11 to 73% of your antibodies, depending on the severity of the infection, leaving measles survivors more vulnerable to diseases they had previously learned to fight. Which is why survivors often die from other things, like the flu or pneumonia, because your body didn't have the right immunity book left to defeat it. Tens of thousands of people, mainly young children, are killed by measles every year. Millions more are living with the lifelong complications it causes. If vaccination coverage continues to slip, the cracks in the shield we have built up over the decades will widen. But the good news is we can rebuild this shield, one vaccination at a time.